Jack Porter wiped down the bar counter and looked out at the stars through the large viewing window of the Starbound. After 5 years as a bartender on the trading ship, he knew how to make drinks for almost every alien species in this part of the galaxy. Humans were still new to space travel, and Jack took pride in being an unofficial ambassador through his carefully mixed drinks. "Quiet night," said Olivia Wilson as she sat down at the bar. She was the ship's doctor and often came by for a chat when off duty. "Too quiet," Jack said with a smile, "but it's early still." The door to the bar slid open with a soft hiss. A tall, slender alien with blue skin and silver markings on her face walked in. Her large purple eyes scanned the room before she approached the bar. Jack recognized her species as Azurian, but he had served very few of them before. "Welcome to Starbound Spirits," Jack said, giving his standard greeting. "What can I get for you?" The Azurian sat down carefully on a stool. Up close, Jack noticed that her hands were trembling slightly, and her breathing seemed faster than normal for her species. "I require ... something calming," she said in perfect English. "Today has been ... difficult," Jack nodded. He prided himself on reading his customers and knowing exactly what they needed. "I have just the thing," he said. "I've studied Azurian biology. There's a drink I created that should help your nervous system relax without any negative side effects." Olivia raised an eyebrow at him but said nothing as Jack began mixing ingredients. He added a splash of blue liquid, then some powdered herbs, and finally a few drops of a clear syrup. The drink turned a soft purple color and gave off a gentle, sweet smell. Jack placed the drink in front of the Azurian with a friendly smile. "This should help. It's called Earth Twilight." The Azurian looked at the drink, then at Jack. Her large eyes widened even further. "You created this specifically for me?" she asked, her voice suddenly sounding different. "Well, for your species," Jack explained. "I like to have options for everyone who comes through those doors." The Azurian picked up the glass with both hands and took a small sip. Her silver facial markings seemed to shimmer more brightly for a moment. "It is perfect," she said, looking at Jack with an intensity that made him slightly uncomfortable. "My name is Zara. May I ask yours?" "This Jack Porter," he said, extending his hand as was human custom. Instead of shaking it, Zara placed her palm against his. A warm, tingling sensation spread up Jack's arm. Olivia coughed loudly. "Jack, can I talk to you for a second?" She grabbed his arm and pulled him to the end of the bar. "What's wrong?" Jack asked. "Did you read the updated cultural brief on Azurians?" Olivia whispered urgently. "I skimmed it," Jack admitted. "Why?" "Because you just initiated their mating ritual," Olivia hissed. "Creating a special drink for an Azurian and offering it directly is the first step in their courtship process." Jack's face went pale. "That can't be right." "I was just being a good bartender." "Look at her face," Olivia said. "Those markings don't normally glow like that." Jack glanced back at Zara, who was watching him with what he now recognized as a mixture of surprise and pleased interest. "I'll just explain the misunderstanding," Jack said. "No big deal." Before he could move, the bar door opened again. 3 more Azurians entered. They were dressed in elaborate clothing with similar silver markings. The tallest one immediately walked toward Zara, who stood up and spoke rapidly in her native language while gesturing toward Jack. All 4 Azurians turned to stare at him. "Oh no," Jack muttered. The tallest Azurian approached Jack and placed both hands on his shoulders in what seemed like a formal gesture. "We are honored by your interest in our daughter," the Azurian said in slightly accented English. "The creation of a special beverage shows great respect and understanding of our ways." "Actually, sir, there's been a misunderstanding," Jack started to explain, but Olivia stepped on his foot. "Cultural sensitivity," she whispered. "Don't outright reject them in public. It's considered deeply shameful." Jack forced a smile. "I'm honored to meet Zara's family," the ship's intercom buzzed. "All senior staff report to the bridge immediately." Olivia looked relieved. "That's us." "Sorry," she said to the Azurians, "but we need to report for duty." As they walked quickly away from the bar, Jack grabbed Olivia's arm. "What have I gotten myself into?" A diplomatic incident if you're not careful, she said. The Azurians are key members of the Galactic Alliance. We need their support for the new trade routes. When they reached the bridge, Captain Samantha Reed was waiting with a stern expression. Porter, she said, I just received a communication from the Azurian diplomatic vessel that docked with us 2 hours ago. They're extending congratulations on your ... engagement? Jack groaned. Captain, I just gave her a drink. I didn't know. I'm aware of the cultural mix-up. Captain Reed cut him off. The problem is that the head of the Azurian trade delegation is apparently Zara's father. He's taken your gesture as a formal indication of intent. But surely once I explain, it's not that simple, said Ben Harris, the ship's cultural liaison. In Azurian culture, initiating the ritual and then withdrawing is seen as saying the other person isn't worthy. It would be a grave insult, not just to Zara, but to her entire family line. And her father happens to be voting next week on whether to allow human ships expanded access to Azurian trade routes. Captain Reed added. Jack ran his hands through his hair in frustration. So what am I supposed to do? For now, you play along, Captain Reed said firmly. Harris will brief you on the next steps of their courtship process. Nothing is irreversible until the final ceremony, which would be weeks away. That gives us time to find a diplomatic solution. And if we don't? Jack asked. Captain Reed's expression was grim. Then you'll have to decide what's more important, your personal comfort or humanity's future in space. And Jack thought of the way Zara had looked at him with surprise but not displeasure. He thought of her trembling hands when she first entered the bar, and how she had relaxed after tasting his drink. How bad could it be? He finally said, trying to sound braver than he felt. It's just a few ceremonies, right? Ben Harris looked down at his datapad and winced. The second ritual involves hunting a predatory creature with your bare hands to prove you can provide for your mate. Jack's face fell. Captain, I'm a bartender, not a hunter. Well, Captain Reed said, you'd better become one fast. The Azurians are expecting you to join them on their ship tomorrow to begin the formal proceedings. As the meeting ended and Jack walked back toward his quarters, he passed by the bar. Through the window, he could see Zara sitting with her family, occasionally glancing toward the door as if waiting for his return. I only gave her a drink, he whispered to himself. How did it come to this? Jack looked out the window of the small shuttle as it approached the Azurian ship. It was 3 times the size of the Starbound, with a smooth blue-silver exterior that reminded him of Zara's skin. Remember everything we talked about, said Ben. Harris, who sat next to him, just follow their customs, smile a lot, and try not to offend anyone. Easy for you to say, Jack replied. You're not the one who has to hunt some dangerous animal. The Shrell isn't exactly an animal, Ben explained. It's more like a giant jellyfish that lives in the forest canopy of their world. The ceremony will take place in a controlled environment on their ship. This did not make Jack feel any better. The shuttle docked with a gentle bump. When the doors opened, Zara was waiting for him. She wore a formal outfit with silver threads. That matched the markings on her face. Jack Porter, she said with a small bow. I am pleased you have come. Jack returned the bow, just as Ben had taught him. Thank you for welcoming me, Zara. She led them through wide corridors filled with other Azurians, all of whom turned to stare at Jack. He felt like an exhibit in a zoo. They are curious, Zara explained. Few humans have participated in our rituals? How many exactly? Jack asked. You are the first, Zara admitted. They arrived at a large room where Zara's family waited. Her father stepped forward. I am Elder Toran, he said. Welcome to our home ship, Jack Porter of Earth. Jack bowed again. Thank you for your hospitality, Elder Toran. A younger male Azurian approached. He looked similar to Zara, but with sharper features. This is my cousin, Krell, Zara said. He will help prepare you for the providing ritual. Krell nodded at Jack. I will try to keep you alive, human. That's reassuring, Jack said weakly. After the formal greetings, Krell took Jack to a separate room to explain the ritual. The providing ritual shows that you can care for a mate, Krell said, showing Jack images of the Shrell on a screen. You must capture it without killing it. The Shrell looked like a floating blue jellyfish with long tentacles. It was about the size of a large dog. Those tentacles, Jack pointed. Are they poisonous? Not poisonous, Krell said. But they deliver a mild electric shock, enough to stun small prey. And I'm supposed to catch it with my bare hands. You will have a net, Krell said. But yes, no weapons. The ritual is about skill and respect for life. Jack spent the rest of the day learning about the Shrell's habits and practicing with a net. Krell was a patient teacher, though he often laughed at Jack's clumsy attempts. Why are you helping me? Jack asked during a break. I thought Azurians would want me to fail. Krell's expression became serious. Zara has been ... lonely. She is different from others, more curious about the galaxy. Our family worries about her. So you want her to end up with a human bartender? Who doesn't know anything about your customs? I want her to be happy, Krell said simply, and she seems interested in you. Later that evening, Jack was given a small room to rest before the ritual the next day. He was surprised when Zara came to visit him. I wanted to thank you, she said, sitting across from him. For what? Jack asked. I got us both into this mess by accident. Zara's markings shimmered slightly. I know it was not your intention to. Begin the mating ritual. Jack stared at her. You know, I have studied human customs, she explained. I realized your confusion after my family arrived. But by then, it was too late to stop the process without embarrassment. So you're just going along with this to save face? Zara looked down. Partly. But also because I find you ... interesting. Few would create a drink specifically for an Azurian. I make drinks for everyone, Jack said. It's my job. Yet you took time to understand our biology, she said. That shows care. Jack hadn't thought of it that way. I guess I did. Tell me about Earth, Zara said, changing the subject. I have never visited. They talked for hours about their homeworlds. Jack told her about oceans and mountains, about the small town where he grew up. Zara described the floating cities. Of her planet and the light festivals they celebrated each year, Jack was surprised by how easy it was to talk to her. She was intelligent and funny in her own way, genuinely curious about human life. Why were you upset when you came to my bar? He finally asked. Zara's markings dimmed slightly. My father wishes me to join the diplomatic corps. I wish to be a xenobiologist, studying new species. We had argued about my future. And now your future might include a human bartender, Jack said with a small smile. Life is full of unexpected paths, Zara replied, her markings brightening again. The next morning, Jack stood in a large chamber that had been transformed into a forest environment. Trees and plants from the Azurian homeworld filled the space. The air was warm and humid. Elder Toran addressed the gathered Azurians. Today, Jack Porter will demonstrate his ability to provide by capturing a Shrell without harm. This will show his respect for life and his skill as a potential mate. Jack gripped his net nervously. Krell had shown him how to use it, but practice was different from the real thing. Begin, Elder Toran announced. Jack moved carefully through the artificial forest. The Shrell liked to hide in the highest branches, Krell had told him. He looked up, scanning the canopy there. A flash of blue among the leaves. The Shrell was floating slowly between two trees, its tentacles hanging down like gentle streamers. Jack approached quietly, net ready. Just as he was about to swing, he stepped on a twig. The sharp crack echoed in the chamber. The Shrell darted upward, suddenly alert. Jack lunged with the net, but missed completely. He stumbled forward, lost his balance, and fell face first into a muddy patch. Laughter rippled through the watching Azurians. Jack got up, mud covering his front, and felt his face burn with embarrassment, but then he spotted the Shrell again. It had moved to a lower branch, almost curious about the strange creature below. This time, Jack didn't rush. He remembered Krell's advice. Be patient. Let the Shrell come to you. He stood very still, holding the net ready but not moving. The Shrell gradually drifted lower, its tentacles swaying gently. When it was just above his head, Jack swung the net in a smooth arc. The shell was caught, its jellyfish-like body pulsing inside the net. A cheer went up from the Azorians. Even Elder Turan looked impressed. Zara approached as Jack carefully lowered the net with the captured shell. "You have shown patience and respect," she said formally. "The ritual is complete." As attendants took the shell away to release it, Jack looked at Zara. "Did I do okay?" "The fall in the mud was not traditional," she said, her markings shimmering in what Jack now recognized as amusement. "But the capture was perfect. What happens next?" Jack asked. "Next is the knowledge ritual," she replied, "where you must learn our ways and I must learn yours." Jack thought about their conversation the night before. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all. "I think I'd like that," he said, and was rewarded with the brightest shimmer yet from Zara's markings. The knowledge ritual began the next day. Jack sat in a circular room with Zara. The walls were covered with images of the Azurian homeworld. "During this ritual, we learn about each other's cultures," Zara explained. "It lasts 7 days." And Jack relaxed a little. This sounded much better than hunting jellyfish monsters. "So we just ... he asked. "We share important knowledge," Zara corrected. "History, customs, beliefs. At the end, we are tested on what we have learned." For the first few days, Jack enjoyed the ritual. He told Zara about Earth's oceans and deserts, about the first human space flights, and about the different cultures of his planet. Zara was a good listener, asking clever questions that made Jack think more deeply about his own world. In return, Zara taught Jack about Azurian society. He learned that the silver markings on their faces showed their emotions and family connections. He learned about their floating cities built among the tall trees of their world, and how they valued knowledge. Above all else, "Your people have fought many wars," Zara said on the 4th day. "This troubles my father." "We've made mistakes," Jack admitted, "but we're trying to be better. That's why joining the Galactic Alliance means so much to us." Zara's markings shimmered. Thoughtfully, "Your honesty is ... refreshing. Many species try to hide their flaws." On the 5th day, Krell joined them. He seemed worried. "There is a problem," he told them quietly. "Dorn has returned." Zara's markings suddenly went dim. "When?" "This morning." "He has already spoken with your father." Jack looked between them. "Who's Dorn?" "Dorn is ... Zara hesitated. "He is from a powerful family. He has wanted to join with me for many years." "He's a stuck-up pain in the neck," Krell added. "He thinks humans shouldn't be part of the Alliance." Jack understood immediately. "And he's not happy about me." "He has challenged your right to continue the rituals," Krell confirmed. "He has invoked the ancient claim." Zara looked upset. "He cannot do that. The ancient claim is hardly ever used anymore." "What's the ancient claim?" Jack asked, feeling lost again. "It allows another to challenge a suitor by proving they are more worthy," Krell explained. "It means you must compete with Dorn in 3 trials." Jack groaned. "More trials? I thought we were past that part." "These are different," Zara said. "They test intelligence, endurance, and cultural understanding." Later that day, Jack was called to meet with Elder Turan, Captain Reed, and Diplomat. Eric Johnson from the Starbound had arrived for emergency talks. Elder Turan looked serious. "The challenge has been formally accepted. According to our laws, you must either compete or withdraw from the rituals." "And if I withdraw?" Jack asked. "It would be seen as an insult to Zara's family," Eric Johnson explained. "The trade negotiations would likely fail." Captain Reed added, "Not to mention the damage to human-Azurian relations." Jack thought about Zara, about their conversations over the past few days. He had begun to genuinely like her. "When do these trials take place?" he asked. "They begin tomorrow," Elder Turan said. "Dorn has requested the minimum preparation time." "As is his right?" "Of course he did," Jack muttered after the meeting. Jack found Zara waiting for him in the corridor. "I'm sorry," she said. "This is not what I wanted." "It's not your fault," Jack told her. "But I could use some help understanding what I'm up against." Zara took him to a quiet garden area on the ship. The first trial tests strategic thinking. The second tests physical endurance. The third tests understanding of our cultural values. Going to lose all three, Jack said gloomily. Dorn has trained for this his whole life, hasn't he? Yes, Zara admitted. But winning is not always what matters most. What do you mean? Our people value adaptability above all else, she explained. That is how we survived on our changing world. Sometimes the way someone approaches a challenge is more important than victory. Jack wasn't convinced, but he appreciated her attempt. To make him feel better, that evening, Jack met Dorn at a formal dinner. The Azurian was taller than most others, with elaborate markings that seemed almost artificially enhanced. He looked at Jack with clear dislike. So this is the human who thinks he can join an Azurian family, Dorn said loudly. I look forward to tomorrow's trials. I look forward to surprising you, Jack replied, trying to sound confident. Dorn laughed. Your kind always does surprise us. Like when you claim to come in peace, then set up military bases on border planets. Several Azurians looked uncomfortable at this accusation. That's not true, Jack said firmly. Earth has no military bases near Azurian space. Perhaps not yet, Dorn replied smoothly. After dinner, Krell pulled Jack aside. Be careful of Dorn. His family leads the group that opposes closer ties with humans. So this isn't just about Zara, Jack realized. It never was, Krell said. You've become a symbol. If a human fails these rituals publicly, it helps their cause. The next morning, Jack faced the first trial, the strategy game. It was played on a circular board with pieces that represented different cosmic forces. Jack had only learned the rules the night before from Krell. Dorn moved his pieces with confident precision. Jack struggled to keep up, making moves based more on instinct than strategy. To everyone's surprise, especially Dorn's, the game ended not with Jack's complete defeat, but with a respectable loss. Several elder Azurians nodded approvingly at Jack's unconventional moves. You play. Strangely, Dorn said, frowning. I'm human, Jack replied. We specialize in strange. The second trial took place that afternoon. Jack and Dorn had to run through an obstacle course while carrying heavy containers of water without spilling a drop. Dorn was faster and more graceful, easily navigating the obstacles. Jack was slower but steady. When Dorn rushed too quickly over a narrow bridge and spilled some water, Jack saw his opportunity. He moved carefully, focusing on balance rather than speed. At the finish line, Jack had less water remaining than Dorn. But the difference was smaller than anyone expected. The human understands conservation, one elder commented. Interesting. Dorn looked furious. One trial remains, he reminded everyone. The most important one. That night, Zara visited Jack in his quarters. You did well today, she said. I lost both trials, Jack pointed out. But not badly, she said. And you showed respect for our ways. What's the last trial? Jack asked. I need all the help I can get. The cultural values trial, Zara said. You must create a performance that demonstrates your understanding of our most important beliefs. Jack groaned. A performance, like dancing? I'm the worst dancer in human space. It need not be dance, Zara said. It can be any form of expression. But it must include elements of your culture joined with ours. She looked at him seriously. Jack, there is something you should know. I have grown to ... She paused, her markings shimmering with emotion. I will understand if you find a way to end this without embarrassing either of us. Jack was surprised by the warmth he felt at her words. Despite the strange circumstances, he had grown to care for Zara too. I'm not giving up, he said. Not on the rituals and not on you. For the first time, Zara reached out and touched his hand. A gentle warmth spread through Jack's fingers. Then I will help you prepare, she said. We have much work to do before tomorrow. Jack didn't sleep much that night. He spent hours working with Zara and Krell to prepare for the cultural values trial. By morning, his eyes were tired, but his mind was clear. Are you ready? Krell asked as they walked toward the main hall. As ready as I'll ever be, Jack replied. He carried a small bag with items he had requested from the Starbound. The main hall was filled with Azurians sitting in circular rows around a central platform. Jack saw Captain Reed and several crew members from the Starbound in special section. They gave him encouraging nods. Elder Toran stood and raised his hands for silence. Today we witness the final trial between Dorn of House Velen and Jack, Porter of Earth. Each will demonstrate their understanding of our cultural values through performance. Dorn went first. He stepped onto the platform wearing traditional Azurian ceremonial robes. 4 other Azurians joined him, and together they performed a complex dance that told the story of their people's journey to the stars. It was beautiful and perfectly executed. The audience watched with appreciation, their facial markings glowing, in response to particularly moving moments. When Dorn finished, the room filled with approving murmurs. Jack's stomach tightened with nerves. How could he possibly compete with that? "Your turn, human," Dorn said as he passed Jack. "Try not to embarrass yourself too badly." Jack stepped onto the platform, his legs feeling weak. He placed his bag down and took a deep breath. "I cannot perform the traditional dances of your people as perfectly as Dorn," Jack began honestly. "I have only known your ways for a short time. But in my study with Zara, I learned that Azurians value adaptation above all. You believe that understanding must grow and change to remain alive." Jack opened his bag and pulled out a small device. "This is a music player from Earth. With Krell's help, I have combined sounds from both our worlds." He pressed a button, and strange music filled the hall. It blended the flowing tones of Azurian music with the rhythmic beats of Earth songs. Some Azurians looked confused, others curious. "I will now attempt to tell your story and mine together," Jack announced. He began a simple movement pattern that Zara had taught him, the basic form of Azurian storytelling dance. But instead of following the traditional steps exactly, Jack incorporated movements from human dances. He showed the meeting of their 2 species, the confusion, the misunderstandings, and finally, the possibility of harmony. Jack knew he wasn't graceful like Dorn. His movements were sometimes awkward and he stumbled once. But he put his whole heart into the performance, showing how humans and Azurians could learn from each other. As he danced, Jack added spoken words, another break from tradition. "Long ago, Azurians learned to bend with the winds of change rather than break," he said, using words from their ancient texts. "Humans too have survived by adapting. Though we come from different worlds, we share this wisdom." When Jack finished, the hall was silent. He stood on the platform, breathing hard, waiting for the laughter or disapproval he expected. Then one elder's facial markings began to glow brightly. Then another's. Soon, many Azurians were showing the glow that Jack had. Learned meant deep emotion. Elder Toran stood. "This is ... most unusual. The council will now evaluate both performances." Jack left the platform, his legs shaky. Zara was waiting at the edge of the hall, her markings shimmering with what looked like pride. "That was brave," she said softly. "It was terrible," Jack replied. "I looked like a drunk earth goat next to Dorn's perfect performance." "You showed true understanding," she insisted. "That matters more than perfect steps." Before they could talk more, a commotion broke out on the other side of the hall. Dorn was arguing loudly with several elders. "This is unacceptable," he shouted. "The human made a mockery of our traditions." "The human showed creativity and respect," one elder replied calmly. Dorn's face darkened. "Respect? While his people prepare to expand their territory at our expense." The hall went quiet. Elder Toran stepped forward. "What are you saying, Dorn?" "I have proof," Dorn declared. "Human ships have been scanning our outer colonies. Their trade vessels carry hidden sensors. They claim to want peace while preparing for expansion." Captain Reed stood up from her seat. "That's absolutely false." "Is it?" Dorn pulled out a small device and projected images into the air. They showed what appeared to be human ships near. Azurian colonies. These were taken last month. Jack stared at the images. They looked real, but something wasn't right. "Those aren't Starbound ships," he said. "And those markings are wrong?" Peter Martinez, the communications specialist from the Starbound, stepped forward. "He's right. The registry numbers don't match any Earth vessels." These images have been altered, Dorn sneered. Of course you would say that. Elder Turan looked troubled. These are serious accusations. We must investigate before proceeding with the trials. The room erupted in argument. Jack saw his chance. Slipping away. Even if Dorn's evidence was false, the doubt had been planted. Then Jack remembered something Zara had taught him about Azurian values. I request the right of direct knowledge, he called out loudly. The room fell silent again. Even. Dorn looked surprised. The human invokes an ancient right, Elder Turan said, sounding impressed. He asks that we seek truth through direct experience rather than second-hand evidence. What does that mean? Captain Reed whispered to Martinez. It means Jack is asking them to see for themselves rather than rely on Dorn's evidence, Martinez. Explained. Elder Turan approached Jack. What do you propose? Let an Azurian delegation visit Earth, see our ships, our people, our true intentions. Then make your judgment based on direct knowledge, not manipulated images. Murmurs of approval spread through the hall. The Azurians valued first-hand knowledge above all else. This is a delay tactic, Dorn protested. It is wisdom, Elder Turan replied firmly. We will send a delegation to Earth, led by myself and including Zara and Krell, until we return. The final judgment on the trials will be postponed. Dorn looked furious but could not argue without seeming to oppose Azurian values. Later, as preparations were made for the journey to Earth, Zara found Jack in the garden area. You surprised everyone today, she said. Even me. I remembered what you taught me about your people valuing direct experience, Jack said. It seemed like the right move. It was brilliant, she said. Few outsiders understand our ways, so... Well, Jack looked at her curiously. Did I really do okay in the performance? I felt ridiculous. Zara's markings glowed warmly. Your dance was not technically perfect, but it showed something more important, a true desire to bridge our worlds. Many elders were deeply moved. And you? Jack asked. What did you think? Zara stepped closer to him. I think you are unlike any human or any being I have ever met, Jack Porter. She reached out and placed her palm against his, the Azurian gesture of affection. The now familiar warmth spread up his arm, but this time it seemed to reach his heart as well. I'm looking forward to showing you Earth, Jack said softly, and I look forward to seeing it, Zara replied. Especially through your eyes? Earth looked beautiful from space, a blue and green marble wrapped in swirling white clouds. Jack watched Zara's face as she saw his home planet for the first time. Her silver markings glowed with excitement. It's more colorful than I imagined. She said the Azurian delegation had traveled on their own ship, with the Starbound leading the way. Now they were preparing to land at the main spaceport in North America. Elder Turan stood beside them at the viewing window. Your oceans are vast, he noted. Our world has much less water. You'll get to see one up close, Jack promised. I arranged a special tour. For the next week, Jack helped show the Azurians around Earth. They visited cities, forests, and as promised, the ocean. The delegation met with human leaders, toured facilities, and inspected ships similar to those in Dorn's fake images. Jack especially enjoyed watching Zara discover Earth. She was fascinated by the variety of life forms, taking samples and making notes for her xenobiology studies. Her joy made Jack see familiar things with new eyes. Krell became popular with the human crew members, his sense of humor translating well across species. Even Elder Turan seemed impressed by what he saw, though he remained formal and careful. In his judgments, on their final night on Earth, a special dinner was held for the delegation. Ambassador Lavra Bennett made a speech about friendship between their species. Then Elder Turan rose to speak. We have seen much during our visit. He said, We have found no evidence of the hostile intentions Dorn suggested. Instead, we have found a people different from us, yet sharing important values. Jack felt relief wash over him. The elder's words suggested the accusations had been dismissed. Tomorrow we return home to complete our evaluation of the trials. Elder Turan continued. But first, I believe Dorn has something to say. To Jack's surprise, Dorn himself stepped forward. He had been required to join the Earth visit as part of the investigation into his claims. I acknowledge that my evidence was, incorrect, Dorn said stiffly. I allowed my concerns about human expansion to cloud my judgment. Jack couldn't believe what he was hearing, Dorn admitting he was wrong. It seemed impossible, but then Dorn's tone changed. However, my concerns remain valid. Humans are a young, aggressive species. Their history is filled with conflict. How can we trust they will not eventually turn on us as they have turned on each other? Murmurs filled the room. Jack saw worry on some human faces. Dorn's new attack was more subtle and harder to disprove. Before anyone could respond, Zara stood up. All eyes turned to her. I have studied Earth's history during our visit, she said clearly. Yes, humans have fought many wars. They have made terrible mistakes, but they have also created beauty, sought knowledge, and worked to overcome their flaws. She looked around the room. Is that not the true test of a species? Not that they are perfect, but that they strive to be better than they were? The room was silent. Jack felt pride and something deeper as he watched Zara defend his species. Furthermore, she continued, this entire situation began with a misunderstanding about a drink. Yet instead of rejecting our ways, Jack Porter learned them. He adapted. He showed respect. Are these not the qualities we should seek in allies? Elder Turan was watching Zara with new interest. Her markings were glowing brighter than Jack had ever seen. You speak with passion, daughter, Elder Turan said. Your time with humans has changed you. For the better, Zara replied confidently. The next day they returned to the Azurian ship. Jack was nervous about the final judgment on the trials. Despite the positive visit to Earth, he wasn't sure what would happen. Back on the Azurian ship, everyone gathered in the main hall. Elder Turan and the council took their places on the raised platform. After careful consideration, Elder Turan announced, we have reached our decision regarding the trials between Dorn of House Velen and Jack Porter of Earth. The hall was completely silent. Jack could feel his heart pounding. Both participants have shown strengths and weaknesses, Elder Turan continued. Dorn displayed perfect technical skill, but Jack Porter showed exceptional adaptability and genuine understanding of our values. Elder Turan paused, looking at both Jack and Dorn. However, before we give our final judgment, Jack Porter has requested the right to address the council. Jack was surprised to be called forward. This wasn't part of the plan. But he stepped onto the platform, facing the council in the crowded hall. Respected elders, he began, over these past weeks I have learned much about your culture. I have participated in your rituals and faced your trials. All of this began because I gave Zara a drink without understanding what it meant. Some soft laughter rippled through the crowd. But I've realized something important, Jack continued. The mistake that brought us together has led to real understanding between our peoples, and it has led to real feelings that I didn't expect. He looked at Zara, who was watching him intently. In human culture, we believe that relationships should be based on choice, not obligation or ritual alone, Jack said. So, I would like to invoke a right that Zara taught me exists in your oldest traditions, the right of self-determination. Surprised. Murmurs filled the hall. Elder Turan looked impressed. You wish to determine your own path outside the traditional rituals? He asked. I do, Jack said firmly. And I ask that Zara be given the same choice. Not as part of an ancient ritual, but as two individuals who have come to care for each other through honest connection. All eyes turned to Zara. She stood, her markings glowing with emotion. I also claim the right of self-determination, she said clearly. Elder Turan looked between them, then at the other council members who nodded in agreement. The council recognizes and grants this ancient right, he announced. The traditional rituals are set aside. Jack Porter and Zara will determine their own path forward. Dorn looked stunned. This outcome had clearly never occurred to him. Jack stepped down from the platform, his heart lighter than it had been in weeks. Zara moved to meet him in the center of the hall. That was unexpected, she said, her markings shimmering with what Jack now recognized as joy. "I hope it was okay," Jack replied. "I just thought we deserved the chance to figure this out on our own terms." "It was perfect," Zara said. She reached out and placed her palm against his in the Azurian gesture of affection. "So what happens now, Jack Porter?" Jack smiled. "Now we get to decide. I still have my job on the Starbound. You have your studies. But maybe we can find a way to make it work between our two worlds." "I would like that," Zara said. "Perhaps I could study xenobiology on your ship for a while. And I could learn more." "About mixing drinks for Azurians," Jack suggested with a smile. From across the hall, Captain Reed gave Jack an approving nod. Next to her, Elder Turan was actually smiling. "Who would have thought," Jack said softly, "that one simple drink could lead to all this?" Zara's markings glowed warmly. "Sometimes the smallest actions create the biggest changes." As they stood together in the center of the hall, Jack realized that what had begun as a diplomatic crisis had transformed into something much more meaningful, a bridge between two worlds, and perhaps the beginning of a journey that neither of them could have imagined.